during the most challenging times of our lives. As an artist collaboration, we've given shape and depth to some of the most complicated topics of our time, making them easily accessible for those who seek to understand. We've given voice and space to the stories that often go ignored. Please take a moment to consider being a patron, make a donation, or join Rokfin. Thank you.
Lonely spire crawling on the floor. Lonely spire longing for love once more.
Hello there.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to another edition of Bookmark. I almost said book quote.
Book quote. That should be another show.
I know, right?
Right?
Or poll mark.
You know what we forgot?
What?
The toys.
The toys. Oh, well, you can go off camera if you want.
And get them?
Yeah, but in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. We were going to show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get there in a minute. But anyway, so we have a lot to talk about today because a lot has been going on. It's been a weird week.
Yeah.
Right.
We had last week we had Christiane Northrup on, which was amazing. And are we streaming to all the right?
Yeah, we are. But
and then
and
then this week we had
Judith
on.
Mm-hmm.
So
and,
it's been a great,
and Ramona. Right.
It's been a great, episodes of Pull Quote have been really good.
Yeah.
We're really excited about that.
And we can talk about the next one right now if you want, or we can wait.
We'll wait. Let's move on to the topic at hand.
Okay. So, by the way, this is the new normal show, and not new normal in the way that they mean new normal. We mean that, the crap that's being pulled on us and pushed on us and the things that are going on is the new normal, not masking. Well, that is the crap they're putting on us. But, the way they talk about the new normal is like, oh, well, we're just going to have to get along and just put up with it, and we're saying, no, this is bullshit. This is the new normal, the bullshit. Right. So the first thing that comes to mind is the infrastructure bill, which, we've kind of reported on briefly in the past few weeks, but it's coming to a head now because it's in Congress.
It's basically insane.
Yeah, it's insanity. And we were basically saying it's smoke and mirrors. I mean, it does have some pretty shitty stuff in it, We're not going to go into that because we don't need to. A lot of other people are covering it. But what we're hearing is propaganda coming out of the White House in regard to the infrastructure bill, and stories about employees, doctors, and nurses being fired for not getting the shot.
That's right.
And you had some things to say about that.
Well, I think that I don't really think that that they're getting fired for the reasons that we're being told.
Yeah.
I think that people get fired. Budgets get depleted of their funding. Every April and every October, shareholders have meetings and budgets are reviewed and committees get together and hospital administrators get together and they talk about, where the funding is going to go. And nurses, and especially nurse practitioners, if you're going to focus on, the nursing aspect of this, I mean, this runs across the board for every corporation, every company, every business, but let's focus on the hospital since that seems to be the thing that everybody is talking about. So the narrative is, in our little echo chamber here is that, nurses are quitting because they're refusing to get inoculated. So they're either quitting or they're getting fired. And that's really only partially true. The reality of it is that it's October, and this is when shareholders have gotten together and discussed how they're going to trim the fat.
Right. We're in the last quarter.
We're in the last quarter.
Yeah, beginning of the last quarter before the holidays. And then, after January, then it's the first quarter of the next year. And so they're looking towards that first 2 quarters at least.
So nurses with, really credentialed nurses, and especially most nurses in the country are in unions. They're not cheap. So they're credentialed, they're in unions, they're very expensive. They have, they have lots, less of experience behind them. They can write prescriptions. They're nearly as effective as a doctor, especially nurse practitioners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not cheap. They're, and they have pensions
Mm-hmm.
that, the hospital or the company or the union would have to match.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, everything about everything in life is how to save money, how the corporations can save money and how they can make more money.
Right.
So the whole firing thing that's going on with medical staff is they're going to just do a big sweeping firing of, nurses and nurse practitioners, especially, who are earning a really good income. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't understand that the work ethic is no longer, you put in your time, you're dedicated to the company, so therefore you will get an automatic, small percent pay raise, at the end of at your yearly review. Mm-hmm. It's, we all went through this. If you're in the corporate world, then you understand that this is pretty much par for the course. Like you come in at, say, $80,000 a year, and a year later, they bump your salary up to maybe 81.2 or something, and that's just because you showed up to work on time, you didn't badmouth the company, and so that's kind of your reward for being loyal to the company.
Being a good slave.
You just kind of get automatic pay raises. Well, that whole concept goes bye-bye.
Well,
it went bye-bye in the age of COVID.
I think also you brought up the work ethic. I think that the idea of the work ethic, I overheard somebody use that word earlier today. I was doing errands. I heard that word, that phrase uttered. And, I think that since the first industrial revolution, that has been pounded into our head, because before that, people worked because they had their own self-interest in mind, their farm or their craft or whatever it was they did. They weren't working for somebody else necessarily. And if they were, it was in a smaller endeavor. And it was not quite like the factory work that we've had starting in the mid 19th century, and then subsequently other types of work, the service industry, office work, things like that got translated over. That work ethic has got to get translated. So the idea of working for the sake of working is lauded as a positive thing, but over the years. But now that idea is being slowly taken away, because it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much you put into the company. They are going to get rid of you if you just don't have, if you're making too much, or you're getting to a certain age and your insurance is costing them too much, or whatever the case may be. Right. They'll make something up to get rid of you.
Okay, so the nurses that are being let go, they're all going to be replaced with younger, fresher,
less experienced,
and cheaper labor. Now, here's where it's different. You think, okay, well, that's just the way it goes in a capitalist society, right? You just replace, the long-standing, dedicated, hard-working individual with cheaper labor. That's what you do. That's what we do. That's what NAFTA was all about, right? Mm-hmm. So, but this is different. So they're going to get rid of all those nurses that everybody's upset about, and again, I really want to stress that it's not a whole lot to do with whether they get the medical intervention or not. Like that's a smoke screen to make you upset.
AKA the vax.
That's really, that's not what this is about. Okay. So they're going to get rid of these really expensive, dedicated employees, right? They're going to get rid of them. And they're going to replace them with cheaper labor, but the the cheaper labor is going to be told this by their supervisors, by their department head, by their project managers, by their, whatever, whoever's in charge of them. If you want to excel in your job that we just hired you at, so they replaced a nurse maybe who was at 85, 90, maybe $100,000 a year. They replaced that nurse with somebody who's at like $50,000 a year. Okay. And they say, if you want to excel and if you want to be able to get a raise, you need to pass this criteria. And that criteria is in the form of classes or, some kind of
training,
or
certificate or something like
that. And the company will match the cost of the class with whatever you have to take out of your pocket. Okay. So the employee will have to pay out of their own pocket in order to justify a raise that beforehand we all just, in the corporate world, we all just got raises because based on our own merit.
Well, and for being around and gaining that experience on the job. Now that on-the-job training isn't enough, you're going to have to increase your skill set through additional certification and training, and you're going to have to be able to prove that. And as Julie said, the company may or may not match that money, but you'll have to come up with some of that money yourself, and that training is not going to be cheap. And so you're going to have to find a way to fund that.
And in a lot of corporate environments, the company will say, well, we'll pay for it. But here's the problem. Why do you have to take time away from your work and do something to justify, a pension or a pay raise? Whereas before it was based on your merit. It was based on your work ethic. It was based on, because there's no money in that. The corporation is looking at how they divvied out automatic pay raises over the years. And they're saying in between an individual getting hired and an individual getting their first pay raise, why are we just giving money away? Like, how can we recoup that? That's considered a loss to them. How can we recoup that loss? Well, we're going to make the employee jump through hoops in order to feel that they're, worthy of that raise by going through the training programs or going through, whatever. And an outside source will provide it. So, the company might go back to the employee and say, this will get taken out of your paycheck, or we will match the cost of the class. And if you pass, then we can justify giving you a little pay raise. There's all sorts of different ways that other people are going to make money based on your energy and your time.
Right. And I think, this is an introduction into what we were talking about in our video, Globotics.
Which we haven't made public yet.
So
officially,
if you haven't seen it yet, please become a member and
become a patron. Go to Rokfin, join, and you can see it.
By the way, hello to our Rokfin viewers out there.
Hey, Rokfin.
But in the video Globotics, we talk about something that's going to be part of the digital currency in the future, and they're called smart contracts.
Right.
And you will get funding to get training from somebody or some institution. And basically the money that they give you then will come out of your future earnings. And so you will pay them a small amount of money out of your future earnings, plus interest, of course. That's how they make their money. And it continues on because you're going to constantly have to get more training in order to keep your job. And in a lot of cases, or in some cases, you may have to compete and reapply for your own job again.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And and these corporations or these hospitals or whatever, they're going to do this through a number of means. One means might be like, oh, well, we've started this spin-off company and we're going to convert you over to the spin-off company. But here's the hitch. You're going to have to reapply and go through the interview process again.
So does this sound really exciting to you? Is this making you hyperventilate? Is this making you run around like a crazy person with your hair on fire going, oh my God, it's the end of the world? No, it's boring corporate budget reviews. It's literally us going, this business of all these nurses getting fired because they allegedly won't take a medical intervention is really nothing more than just
justifying
a new budget for the next quarter or the next year. I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with the my body, my choice thing.
Right. Nothing. And this will happen in corporate world. This has been happening in the corporate world for years. 10 years ago, I was at a job, and they were moving from one location to another. And there just weren't enough seats to fill all the butts that had been hired the previous, 6 months to a year. And so the people that they just didn't really want to keep around got laid off. And then because they could, once they got into the new location and realized they needed new people, they just started rehiring again. And of course they weren't going to hire the people that they just got rid of.
Of course not.
Because that would then expose
That's not how it works.
Exactly. So and that actually happened to me. I couldn't get anybody from that company to pay attention to me at all. And it wasn't because I was a bad employee. It wasn't because I did something wrong.
Right.
I was let go with, maybe 500 other individuals.
Right.
And it was just business as usual.
Just business. It's just business. And that's all this is. And I think that, so that kind of ties into, the whole infrastructure bill. So, okay, so let's go back to the basics. All right. I did a video in May of 2020, 2 months after the national emergency was declared by Trump on March 13th of 2020. So on May 20th of 2020, 2 months later, I did a video called Let's Tutorial. Let's not forget where we are. Your government has been occupied by corporations. Your government doesn't really have the kind of power. So this whole business with this insane infrastructure bill is really just, it's a lot of theatrics. It's a lot of scaremongering because corporations have put in the protocols. The protocols are already there for your life, and your government doesn't really. Your vote has no power. You're living in a regime change. You're living in fascism. You don't. Your government and the corporations are working together against you. I mean, that's really all there is to it. So the infrastructure bill, yes, it's quite insane and it's really scary. But when you get down to it, vaccines, it'll be company by company. The mandatory medical interventions will take place based on a company's own policy. Right. And it doesn't really have anything to do with what the infrastructure bill says. Some of the money has even already been allocated, already. So, it's.
Well, and then
policy doesn't really matter because corporations are already doing it.
Right. And we'll get into this, what I want to say next in a bit. I wanted to talk about something else because, this whole infrastructure bill, I almost said crime bill because that's basically what it is. Yeah. It's crime against you. We'll get into that in a second too. But this infrastructure bill is a lot of fear mongering and scare tactics, and a lot of what's going on with the you better get vaxxed or you'll lose your job, you lose your benefits. But before we get into that, there's also the propaganda around these health workers who are being fired. And I want to bring up an article that we saw because there's some other things that are going on here that are kind of, weird. And so let me find that here. There it is. Okay. So UCLA anesthesiologist vocal against COVID vaccine mandates is escorted out of the workplace. And what's the photo? Well, it's not a picture of the anesthesiologist being escorted out of the workplace. So how do we know this was real? I don't know if we do. I'm going to close this. The image that we see is of a helicopter landing on the
top of a hospital.
UCLA
that's the
Medical
landing
Center.
Pad for emergency, when they take emergency cases that need immediate attention.
So we talk about aesthetics here a lot, and semiotics and things. And so what's going on here, excuse me, is not, it makes it look like she's being carried away in a helicopter. Oh my God, right? So it ups the anxiety, and it makes it look like, this person is not a good person, and they've been, taken away and
by a helicopter or something.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, aesthetics and semiotics and, the imagery that you see on these kinds of headlines, are meant to, terrorize you, basically. Because remember, you are living in, a terrorist occupied country. Corporations are the terrorists that are waging war on you, and the media is having a field day with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, the sky is the limit. They have no budget, meaning that they have a never-ending budget, a budget that I mean, they can say whatever they want, they can do whatever they want, they can lie to you, they can make you feel whatever they want you to feel. And in this case, they want you to feel terrified that if you speak out against, medical interventions, that those ads are really distracting, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Can we get rid of them?
Yeah, we'll get rid of them.
It's like you look at one pair of shoes, and next thing you know, you get assaulted with cheesy ads. So, but yeah, they really want to scare the hell out of you. They have an unlimited budget. So Sean says the infrastructure bill, I believe, has a lot to do with what's going on with the Biden administration's Enbridge pipelines.
I don't know that particular phrase, but
okay.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I'll take your word for it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But,
thank you for that. Thank you for the comment.
The other thing about this story that kind of irritates me is that, this could be another persona, as we've talked about before. Bless you. Yes, absolutely. Uh-oh. Julie, you didn't have your mask on. I feel unsafe around you.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about personas before being, trotted out in the media. And, for all we know, this woman didn't even exist. There's no photo of her. There's no real, background.
Oh, okay. This is the pipeline that goes from like Canada to the United States.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, this pipeline has been talked about for the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah, no.
It feels like.
And it, yeah.
See, Canada to the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Which, hooked up to the, the X whatever, that other pipeline or anyway, pipeline. I have a feeling that was it. Anyway, yeah. So, it's all about making money and oil and, whatever. So, or water,
Mm-hmm.
So personally, this article is garbage, and basically is setting the pace for shaming and blaming of people who are refusing to take vaccinations or the medical interventions, as we like to say.
I think I'm going to counteract that.
What I just said?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that this article is there to create hysteria amongst those people who are challenging the prevailing narrative that the pathogen creating spike protein injection that individuals are allowing to be injected into their bodies, is a legitimate vaccine or whatever. Those articles are meant to create hysteria amongst all my friends.
Right.
I'll tell you something, JP. The people who I have had interaction with who are vaccinated, they're mostly condescending. They're mostly gossipy
and smug.
They're not aggressive. They don't make fun of you for your choice. The people that I find that are creating the most problems right now in the consciousness of, those of us who aren't wanting to engage in a medical intervention, are the ones who are not engaging in the medical intervention. They're so hysterical. Everything is on overdrive, like everything. Everything is, oh my God, this is happening. This woman, is this, I'm assuming it's a woman, is escorted out of her workplace. Oh my God. And oh my God, thousands of nurses are being fired, not realizing that this is really just an opportunity to create more of the hysteria. That's why we don't really read anything. We don't really listen to many podcasters because we call it the hysteria making industrial complex.
We've been seeing, when we do see it, or when people share these things with us, we look at them and listen to the first, couple minutes and realize where they're coming from. Sometimes we listen to just get their point of view, decide, and try to see if they are what we think they are, or if they actually have something to say. But yeah, it's very frustrating because we feel that there's a lot of people out there that are basically operating as clickbait to get people to pay attention to them. And so there's a lot we should holler at, but thank you.
Who's Mag Truth?
I don't know that one.
Who's Mag Truth?
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And
hey, Age of Reason, can you put a link for his profile or something like that?
Yeah,
we're always looking to talk to other people. We like it.
Yeah.
So I think that's our
or
biggest.
Yell at them.
Right.
Have them on as a guest. Yell at them. No.
I think that's our biggest complaint right now is that you see articles like this LA Times article, and it is not there to make you feel bad for your choices. It's not there to get the people who've decided to make a different choice than what you make to pile on you. It's there to cause more hysteria. It's there to cause unnecessary reactions from the hysteria-making industrial complex, also known as, podcasters, or basically people on Facebook just posting like, oh my God, this thing is hysterical. Oh my God, this thing has made me hysterical. Oh my God, this thing has made me hysterical. And everybody's just like spinning out. And the people that aren't spinning out are the ones that got their shot. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
They're not spinning out. They're not making people feel bad for their choices. They're not.
They are.
Do I want to go holding hands with them and skipping down the line and into the meadows and be besties with them? No, they're fucking fascists.
Right.
They're fascist apologists. No, I don't want anything to do with them.
Well, what we have noticed is some of those people are now quietly taking away their little signaling, like, their little frames that say, vaccines save lives. And,
right.
And, what was that one? Vaccines save lives and disinformation or propaganda or what? I forget.
I don't know what it was, but it's one of those ones on your profile pictures, on your social media pages that say vaccine saves lives. So we noticed that a friend of ours, who I guess you would say is in the privileged liberal category,
absolutely,
she had it up in her. She put it up in picture. August, her profile. She changed her framing around her picture to say vaccines save lives, stop with the conspiracy theories or something like that. She did that in August. And then in September, a little more than a month later, suddenly it went away.
Yeah. So
she took it down.
We're seeing a quiet withdrawal of the drum banging, drum pounding, whatever, from those people about us having to go out and get a vaccine. And I mean, we encounter it now and then, but it's receding, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
A very little bit, little by little. Probably, but it's like for every one person that might be receding just a little bit, it seems like 10 people are even more aggressive and are engaging in segregation. And maybe we should transition into segregation. Yeah.
Well, before we do that, I did want to make a couple points regarding this, the last couple points about the infrastructure bill, and Biden coming out recently and saying, basically threatening the unemployed with, if you don't get a vaccination, then we're going to withdraw your unemployment. And, these are empty threats because basically the unemployment benefits that have been going on since the beginning of COVID are starting to go away.
They're going to be going away anyway.
Right. So these extensions that were created and put out there, Western Washington University implements segregation. Wow. Okay. Well, that goes along with the whole autonomous zone in Seattle. Remember that? Yeah. Anyway, so that
was funny.
That was pretty funny. This is not funny, but it's really kind of fucked up.
So your unemployment benefits aren't going away because you would refuse to have a medical intervention. Your unemployment benefits are going away because your unemployment benefits are going away.
And the federal extensions that were given to us, to the unemployed, they are going away as well. And so that is a very disingenuous thing for him to come out and say, because it's going away anyway.
A politician is disingenuous?
Well, especially Biden.
You're kidding.
Biden is one of the biggest loudmouth schnooks out there. And he's just a complete blowhard and idiot.
Well, he's basically just reading from a script that was written by his owners, and his owners are corporations.
Right. And you were talking about that earlier. You were like, dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah, I'm like, dance, monkey, dance. Because, your politicians have zero credibility right now.
Right.
Every single one of them, from your mayor to the people you vote on your municipal boards, to your local representatives, to your state senators, everybody. Everybody in your local, in Pennsylvania, we call it the General Assembly, or they call it the General Assembly. I don't consider myself a Pennsylvanian. I don't consider myself a Californian either.
Not
I guess
anymore.
I am stateless.
Yeah.
I am my own autonomous region.
This is the temporary.
I need to put a flag
zone,
in me,
right?
a black flag in me.
Right. Say this is no state. There's no state here.
No state.
I'm stateless. So,
although we do have to pay taxes and all that,
right.
but we don't really put any faith and any energy into individuals who have been purchased by corporations and are not working for the sake of the people at all.
Yeah. So what this has been, what's happening then is, based on like what we were talking about it before, where, there is a sense of separatism, right? There's separatism going on where, there's a divide taking place, and hello.
Hi. I just was like, you know what? I'm sitting too far away from you. I'll be like Kim and David Martin. They get really, they get really snuggly.
They have to share that awesome microphone.
I know, they have to share a microphone that's like this big.
I know. This one actually picks up pretty well. I hope.
Hopefully you guys
can hear
us.
We're trying out our fancy microphone
so
again.
JP got seriously flirted with yesterday.
Oh yeah. I got some new glasses. Not these, but actually they're my old glasses.
But he just got a new
prescription
lenses. Put in,
and so I put these on, and I don't have the sunglasses, but so I put these on, and those look really good with your eyes.
So these two blonde ladies in at the eye place.
Yeah, and I'd only seen one of them before.
And he goes, they were Pittsburgh attractive. Not very many attractive people here.
Yeah, and so I got seriously flirted with. I got put the sunglasses on with the new lenses in, and it's like, Tom Cruise is in the shop today, that kind of shit. So it was pretty funny. Yeah.
But JP gets flirted with by all the time. I remember when we first moved here, and we were at the grocery store, and all these little old ladies were like, "Who's that?" Ooh. I'm like, hello, I'm in the room. Yeah, well, then that ended once we started getting called assholes for not wearing a mask in the grocery store. So bummer for me. Anyway, so you're a rebel.
So this idea of separatism that's been taking place as a result of people saying, if you're not vaccinated, then you can't come in to this establishment. And we were walking around the cultural district of Pittsburgh yesterday, and noticed that I won't flirt, but she's absolutely stunning. Well, we've noticed you're but thank you.
I
declare.
Yes.
And there were signs up that said basically you cannot come into this establishment. And we noticed that they all had something to do with the Cultural Trust of Pittsburgh.
Oh, right. So
all
Cultural Trust,
the theaters, the galleries, the art galleries. And then there was this one place that was just a cocktail bar with a jazz band. And what we figured is that they are in the cultural district, and yes, they are taking funding or grants or something from the Cultural Trust in order to pay for the jazz that's in the place. And they also nail you with a $10 music fee when you order drinks or food or whatever.
Right.
So they're basically, this is a public-private partnership. that's creating a segregation, an apartheid kind of situation. And so something that Julie came out and said way, way early on, in fact, probably back to our reset video where we were talking in the park, is that, you know, these things are going to be taken away from those of us who are not capitulating, for those of us who are not accepting, you know, the masking or the distancing, and now who are not accepting the intervention.
Yeah, can you imagine
that this is going to be taken away from us? So we were walking by this beautiful building in Shenley Park in Pittsburgh, and it's the not the Arboretum, it's
the Phipps Conservatory,
the conservatory.
Flowers.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful old, you know, Victorian jewel box. There's one in San Francisco, there's one in San Diego, they're all over the country. And they're, you know, they're very beautiful. And we've gone in there a couple times to see a few exhibits. And it's a big complex of buildings, you know, and again, from the Victorian era. Oh, are you, oh, Sean, you know, I can't take her anywhere now because her head size is, no.
Me?
What?
No, you were the one that was flirted with all
day
yesterday.
Neither of us can wear our hats anymore because our heads are too large. Anyway, so
we're walking by. This is before everything.
Right. Well, I mean, things, the national emergency was declared.
Right, but there was no masking.
Right.
And there was no, you know, definitely like the idea of a vaccine hadn't even been,
not really floated out there yet.
Not really floated out. We walked by this, you know, this Conservatory of Flowers, which is this really beautiful building. And I said, I bet you that this is going to get taken away from people like me and you. I don't know how, but we're going to see a segregation of society. And here we are.
Yeah. And, you know, we call this class war all the time. And by class war, I mean, we don't necessarily mean rich and poor, but we do mean, you know, the anointed or the people that belong, and then the other, right? So a lot of us have been othered,
right?
and you know, when you are of a class of people that feel that they belong in a group that is privileged, they will, you know, point out the people who are not that group. And, you know, it's this whole idea of, you know, thinking that somebody else knows better. You know, that's the kind of thing we're talking about in communitarianism, and the kind of thing that we've been talking about a lot. And so this class war that's going on is basically this segregation that's taking place right now.
Yeah, and you know, it's one thing to be on social media and see people posting pictures of the signs that say, you know, if you don't have a vaccine passport, you can't come in, or you have to have a vaccine passport or to show that you have a negative PCR test in order to be allowed entry into our establishment. It's one thing we even did a video about it called Concert Reset, where we talked about it openly. So it's one thing to look at these things sort of anecdotally or from a distance, where you're looking at, you know, the pictures online, but it's quite another to walk by a place and go, oh, hey, let's go check this out. Because that's what I was thinking. Let's go check this out. It's, you know, beautiful music was coming from the jazz, or the cocktail bar. It was awesome. Jazz was playing. We love jazz. And I thought, this will be great. Let's just pop in and sit down for about 30 minutes, have a glass of wine, listen to some nice jazz. This is totally up our alley. And we couldn't go in. We couldn't do it because of the sign on the door that said vaccine passport is necessary.
Right. And they were like looking for, like, if you didn't have your card, you'd have to have like a photo of it on your smartphone or whatever.
It was really like a punch to my heart. You know, it was like it hurt my feelings.
Well, probably, yeah. And
it hurt my feelings.
Probably more so than the local venue up the street. That you know, where we'd seen, they had just opened and we saw probably 5 shows in 6 months, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, all the local venues in Pittsburgh basically got on board with the demands of Live Nation. We have tickets still on the refrigerator for a show that was supposed to take place in 2020, May of 2020. Never happened. That band is from New Zealand, and they're now going out to tour soon. And they're going to play at the club that in San Francisco that we used to live behind, where we'd go see tons of shows.
We should bring up their post on Facebook.
Yeah, maybe I should. Let me see.
Man.
You talk. I'll bring that up.
So it was really hurtful, and I can only imagine what those who were segregated from society back, before, back during in the 60s, right?
Well,
I can only
50s,
imagine what they felt like. So here we go, right here.
Okay.
October 7th, my birthday. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well, let me share this. Hang on a second.
Because it hurt me to not be able to go experience something that I've always been able to experience my whole life without even thinking.
Now, you may not be able to read this, but you want to read it?
Bring it up if you want.
It doesn't really expand much beyond that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it says the Beths are
nearly fully
vaccinated.
I'll read it.
It basically,
second doses coming, and we're desperately hoping to play live music again safely. There's a keyword. We hope you'll make the choice to get the jab, so we can all be there together. For us, it's about doing it for our loved ones and for other people's loved ones. Heart some photo reminders of what we're missing, and at the Beth, whatever in London, 2019, and whatever. So basically they're being total
so
swats.
These are the tickets we have on our refrigerator that was from there. We were supposed to go to the show like in March of 2020, May of 2020, and they're still sitting there, kind of as a reminder.
And this is an indie pop band. They're very, they're fun. They're good. Yeah. They're a good band.
But
but this is bullshit. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So anyway, it was really so yesterday that's what happened. So after he picked up his glasses and got flirted with, we we went and had a really little we had a bite to eat at a place where on the door it said you must have a mask on for entry, which was for like a cheap little eating place.
Oh yeah, this place. Yeah,
I'm like,
they're very smug in the first place, but but they looked at us and gave us hard looks because we walked in without masks on.
That was a little bit off-putting. And then of course, after we were done eating, walking to take the bus home, we passed some beautiful jazz music that was playing at a bar, and I thought this is great, and I figured we would just wander right on in, and we couldn't.
Yeah,
we couldn't do it.
Right. And and so this is that. And so the weird thing is to see what we're seeing is this bifurcation and this segregation taking place is along the lines of culture primarily.
Right.
It's again, so it's the people who are the other are not allowed culture of any kind. You're not allowed art galleries. You're not allowed, at least the ones funded by the public-private partnerships. Now, there are private galleries out there that are probably allowing you to come in. They might still make you wear a mask, but that's their whatever. They're not requiring a vaccine. But the arts and the music, performance, all these things are requiring the vaccine. And we covered this in Concert Reset, and we displayed a couple documents, like an email from a promoter in the Bay Area, and a web screen, a browser screen from Pitchfork in Chicago, a festival in Chicago, as well as a document that was, I don't know if it was from Live Nation or one of the ticketing agencies. I think it was Ticketmaster, maybe. And they had this, all these improvements that they're making to your experience.
Events. It's the smart event technology. Right, yeah. So first of all, Elaine, thank you for joining. Pittsburgh is your hometown.
Sorry. Sorry. We often say things about Pittsburgh because we're new here and we don't.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah, don't take it personally.
Please. But yeah, it's really sad. And it's, I thought maybe that it would be that it would escape some of the things that we're seeing, but not so much because Pittsburgh, the economy here was already decimated, so they had really no choice but to take impact money and take the kind of money that creates this kind of segregation in society.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucy Cat says, when did obedience and compliance and corporate fascism suddenly become cool?
Yeah.
Well, where there's money,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where people will go. Like, I think it's just people don't realize what it is that's happening at all.
Yeah.
And
Elaine,
this is a bigger problem, and David Martin talks about this a lot, where what happened to some of the brains in our country. Like, why are JP and I immune to the propaganda and the lies coming out of, like, say, for instance, the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, which is funding like the people who are playing the jazz musicians, funding all the galleries and funding all of the larger performance houses, like where you would see like a play or the symphony or something
like that, yeah.
So the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust is funding that, but they're taking impact money, which is directly tied to emergency use authorization, which is directly tied to COVID. So why is it that we understand that and not too many other people do?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Yeah,
I think that what this is a bigger problem with the consciousness in society, where we don't really understand what it means to legitimately like be free and self-actualized and unapologetic for our own beliefs, because all of those beliefs that we hold so dear have been taught to us. We've been told we need to believe a certain way.
Right. Well,
so
like we were talking about earlier, like, the work ethic, right? As if it's, and I just want to go back to something Elaine said. She mentioned smart, resilient cities. And so if you haven't, I imagine you might have, so that's why you brought it up. But we did a video called Resilient Cities, where we brought in Tori Evening Star, and talked about resilient cities and smart cities. And recently, I have been made aware of something that's come about. It's a new idea. It's called the 15-minute city or the 15-minute neighborhood, where basically you can get anywhere by walking or biking within 15 minutes. And all that is like, that's awesome for me. I mean, I prefer, I would like love to live in that. But the problem is that this is all progressive language that is masking policies that are based on the UN what are they? The
Sustainable
Development Goals, right?
So this is really interesting. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, in San Francisco, which is where we're from, the mayor of San Francisco at the time, Ed Lee, was going out and telling the tourists, hey, look, San Francisco is the only city in the country where you can walk for 10 minutes and you'll be at a park. And at the time, I was like, that's amazing. That's really cool. But now I realize it's the precursor to the 15-minute city that he's talking about.
Right. And then there's another concept. Wow. It's these second tier or third tier cities are trying to become what they're calling 18-hour cities. And so like New York and maybe London and Paris are 24-hour cities. They're trying to attract corporations and companies to come to their 18-hour city, where you can basically get anywhere, do anything, or what you need to get done for your business or your personal needs, within an 18-hour period before things start closing, right? So they don't remember San Francisco in the 90s, where like certain neighborhoods would just like roll up at 9 p.m.
Like 7, sometimes earlier,
8 p.m. right?
7, 8, 9 o'clock, or like
you couldn't go into a cafe on Polk Street because it was closed,
right?
And so it was they're trying to beat that kind of thing. So that's why they're doing it, is to attract
me too, Sean.
workers.
We miss it too.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. It's
big time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we don't miss the San Francisco of today. We miss the San Francisco of yesterday.
I mean, even just the San Francisco of like, oh, I don't know, 2015.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
even with the billionaires moving in, it still was nice. And we both miss the ocean and having access to that. So, but the point is that, you know, these smaller cities are now saying, oh, well, we have these services and these things, you know, and trying to attract workers from other, you know, larger cities and attracting them in. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that, you know, it's part of the sales pitch that goes along with the sustainable development goals.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So what else do we want to talk about? So right.
So we were talking about how so these venues and these so music venues and arts venues and these organizations, and, you know, even like individuals, like we came across an individual who we encountered on the bus a few weeks ago.
Oh my God.
She was sitting. So check this out. She was sitting out. She's the tried and true. She believes in it hard. She wears that mask. I'm telling you.
She wears two.
And she was at this restaurant with us yesterday, and she was sitting in the outside. They had this nice little outside area, and she was literally wearing her mask, sitting outside waiting for her food.
Yeah.
It's really fucking sad. And
well, I think she's really mentally ill.
But when we were on the bus, we were sitting in the back of the bus, and she was sitting back there with us, and she was giving me hard looks and like doing this thing where she's like looking down at her mask and looking at me and looking down at her mask, and I just stared at her, just was like, whatever, because, you know, these are the people that are trying to shame you. Okay, so it's going to extend, you know, into more like basically shaming you and othering you. And you're going to start, these venues and these people are going to start violating your human rights, right? Your protected constitutional or your human rights. And by doing that, they are breaking the law by taking those rights away from you.
So about the law, right? I wanted to talk about that.
Right. So now, well, go ahead. I mean, you know, there's that one point that we were going to get to, but go ahead. And
no, I mean, I think that they're breaking the law. So you're living in you're living in a world of lawlessness, right? You know, it's not right for me to tell everybody up and down my street, you know,
yeah,
you can't come to my house, or you can't take the public bus with me, or you can't have your job unless you lop off your little pinky. You know, like you can't. So we're living in a world of lawlessness. Like I hope everybody understands that there is no rule of law.
The corporations have taken it over.
The corporations have taken over everything. That's why every time you see these people going into their municipal buildings or their municipal meetings and getting in front of the microphone and voicing their concern about everything from, you know, masking children to whatever, the people that are sitting, you know, behind the table there that are conducting these meetings are basically like, you can go now. Like you don't have any effect on this because you're living in a state of lawlessness. And if you're going to be treated like a criminal and they're going to put a mask over your face like you're a bandit, then maybe you should start acting like a criminal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
We've already taken that action in some cases, you know, and we're not, you know, there's some places that are around that are treating you with respect. Mm-hmm. There is just steps from where we live. There's
a 20-second walk from our house.
There's a little lounge and theater. It's an old movie theater, and they turned it into a sort of a multi-complex of like different things, right? So It's a small space. So there's not a lot there, but there's a microbrew in there. So brew pub, microbrew. Mm-hmm. There's a lounge where you can get cocktails and sit and watch live music or comedy, or they have, you know, trivia nights or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that and back, there's a small movie theater where you can say indie films or old films or whatever.
Right.
And so it's a cool little oasis. And guess what? He doesn't require you to do anything. You don't have to wear a mask. you don't have to distance, and you don't have to show proof of a vaccine.
Knock wood. Hopefully he will never change.
Yeah. Now, he told us outright that he didn't take nonprofit money, or didn't create a nonprofit organization to support his business, because there was too much demanded of him to make that happen. Now, this is pre-COVID. Can you imagine what would have happened if it was post-COVID? He would have been doing what that jazz cocktail bar is doing.
Right, exactly. He would have required his steady stream of customers that have done so right by him for the last decade or whatever that he's been here. Like, we're talking locals, who use their hard-earned, money, usually in the blue-collar sector, to go in and grab a beer and watch the game on Sundays, maybe watch a little jazz on Friday night, maybe see some comedy on Thursday night.
We noticed the other night when we were in there having a micro beer, a micro brew
on my birthday,
on your birthday, that the locals were coming in, the regulars were coming in for trivia night.
Yes,
because we've been there.
Trivia night is super fun, and and it was crowded. So I think that what's going to happen is a lot of the places around here in the Pittsburgh area that are requiring all of this bullshit are going to really get a hit. They're going to get hit really hard. And our friend over here, who is a 20-second walk from our house, is going to get the spillover of customers that don't necessarily want to engage in a medical intervention in order to just grab a beer.
Right. And so, so basically, they're basically making you a criminal by doing this, because they're criminals. They're criminals, and they're taking away your rights, and they're making you into a criminal. So, be a criminal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
In California, they're allowing people to steal up to $900 or $950 worth of merchandise in like a Walgreens, and not, and get away with it. It's they won't be charged with anything.
They won't be charged for robbery or anything.
Not only that, but the security guards are not allowed to interfere and even question the fact that they're doing it.
Right.
So what's behind that? Where does that leave us? I mean,
on one hand, I'm like, yeah, right on.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm
like, what's behind that?
I'm like, exactly, what's the goal here? Like, who benefits from, besides the person taking whatever,
Well, it's I think it's introducing
Can you imagine
the normalization of criminal behavior, or it's a way of further bifurcating society in the sense that, oh, well, I can get away with it at the Walgreens, maybe I can get away with it at the local lounge.
Right.
Or the people that aren't making me do these things.
So we're just living in this complete and total suspended. We're living in a state of lawlessness, and I can, and although I appreciate like non-governmental interaction and intervention in life in general, if you're going to live autonomously and outside of government, then you should have some kind of structure in place where each individual can come horizontally together and talk about, what it is that they're good at, that they can bring to the table.
Right. And there's lots of platforms out there that you can turn to that have been developed over the last century and a half. There's everything from federalism, and I don't mean like the federal U.S. government, but it's called federalism or mutualism, or there's other ways of like organizing a local economy, and even more recent, but I won't get into them. But they're out there, and these things are available, and they are horizontally organized and within smaller groups. And I think that these ideas of autonomous zones or what have you, when they're legitimate and authentic, can be a way of organizing. Somebody mentioned organizing above in the chat. These are ways of organizing groups of people to work mutually and allow for reciprocity and other means of exchange that don't require a capitalist intervention. And I think that these are ways of working together. And by federalism, I mean you can have small groups of people who are organized, who are in alignment or federalized with other small groups to exchange goods and services or whatever that they can't produce in their own little enclave. So
That's right.
there's lots of ways for us to work together that doesn't require a government at all, and especially a corporation to tell us what to do. So what's going on out there is baffling at times. I still, we've been talking about this whole thing in California together. We don't, bring it up a lot because we're still kind of baffled by the whole thing. We're not offended by, like, we've heard some podcasters who are like completely offended by this because these people are breaking the law and like, well,
I think Walgreens can take a hit.
I think
here
Walgreens
and there.
can take a hit too, especially because
Or Costco.
San Francisco has created a situation where people cannot live like they used to. They are living on the streets, and maybe that's what they're doing it for. I don't know. I can't really say, but these people have been forced into these situations that are inhumane, and it feels like things are getting set up to punish these people in the future.
Oh,
that's what it feels like to me. So that's why I'm upset about it, or that's why I'm concerned about it. I'm not concerned about the theft that's going on, because again, this is a corporation that's taking it. Now, if it's being set up to hurt local businesses and and people who are self-employed, then that's not good. And if it's set up to, punish the people who are living on the street in the future, that's not good either. So, there's something to this that has not revealed itself yet. We're waiting for the great reveal.
The great reveal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I really want to talk about my birds and my toys.
Okay, Julie. Why don't you go off camera for a second? Grab what you want to talk about. I'll talk about who's coming up next. Mm-hmm. So this Thursday, we have a special guest on Pull Quote, and that is Dr. Andrew Kaufman. Many of you know him from the last few months after this post-COVID world. And we are excited and very thrilled to have Dr. Kaufman come on and talk to us for an hour. So that'll be really cool. And then a week after that, we have one of the second of the disinformation dozen that we had Dr. Christiane Northrup on the program. She's one of the other disinformation dozen that we featured. So we have 10 more to interview, I guess. But in the meantime, we are going to have Kevin Jenkins on our program on October 20th, and that will be a Wednesday, and that will be at 10 a.m. Dr. Kaufman will be on next Thursday at, I believe it's 11 a.m. I can't remember exactly. Let me look at our calendar real quick. And that will be at 10 a.m. Okay, so that will be October 14th, Thursday, October 14th at 10 a.m. And that time is Eastern Daylight Time. And then on the 20th, we will have a recorded interview with Brian Jenkins with Kevin Jenkins at 10 a.m. So look for those two programs on Pull Quote. Those two interviews will round out this season of Pull Quote. We're starting to gather names for our next season. We're probably going to take a couple weeks off before we bring Pull Quote back, but we will bring Pull Quote back because it's a very popular program. Okay.
Yeah, it's really popular.
Yeah. So now we want to.
Okay, but wait, before we talk about what I want to, before I show you my treasures. So Andrew Kaufman is, I really like him because, like David Martin, he's like from the very beginning, the virus isn't real.
Which is where we were at.
Which is where we were from the very beginning,
right.
Based on the fact that we were just like, from day one, like day freaking one, we were like, this is a marketing campaign, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is all about making money. This is all about reframing what it means to be a worker in the United States, reframing what it means to be a human being. Corporations have occupied all of your legacy institutions, your government, your hospitals, corporations are there to make money. This is all about making money. This is a big, giant global money-making scam. That's what we said from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was nice to get an actual
Podcasting
doctor
yeah.
go through like the science and the technical stuff and say, yeah, it doesn't really exist. And also he's a psychologist on top of that. So I think what we have is mass delusion. We have a lot of people that are in the throes of a psychotic episode. And it's difficult to interact with those people now. And I would say that whether you believe in like the official, prevailing narrative or not, even people who are so-called, like awake or fully aware of what this is, they are also in the throes of a psychotic episode because they're so stressed and they've allowed themselves to be seduced by the hysteria podcasting complex.
Yeah, we call it trauma bonding.
They've become bonded to the trauma that a lot of podcasters are putting out there. So I really am looking forward to this Thursday, picking his brain to talk about what all of this means and how we can kind of do workarounds, how we can get through this, because this is a whole new ball game. I mean, I thought I understood the narcissistic personality disorder aspect of living in the United States. I thought I understood all of that, that every CEO is a bona fide psychopath, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you hear those kind of statistics and you think, okay, I can handle it. But this is something completely different. When you've got, 5-year-olds that are trying to school me to put on a mask or, because they're indoctrinated now.
Right.
And you're like, how do I live in this crazy world? So it'll be nice to have Dr. Kaufman on to go through some of these strange issues that we're dealing with now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the conversation we had with Kevin Jenkins was fantastic. We pre-recorded it and we'll be releasing it on the 20th. And we cover a lot of the things that he's known for, but we're also going to talk about the bus tour that he was on that we.
We went to
here in Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. So it's pretty cool.
We only went to talk to him and talk to our friend Kimberly. We did not stay for very long.
Yeah.
And apparently we missed
the appearance of Black Lives Matter showing up to protest.
So here you had Kevin Jenkins, who's a Black man, who's not falling for any of this and doesn't even support Black Lives Matter, schooling Black Lives Matter. That's pretty funny.
So we talked about that too. So stay tuned for that.
So definitely you're going to want to see that.
So on the Book of Hours website,
you want to bring it up?
Sure. Yeah, let me bring that up. Book-of-hours. Let me see here.
Yeah, so we have a blog, we have our main page, and we also have a shop.
Right. So here's our website. Hey, those jellyfish look familiar.
Yep. That's our website. Okay.
We have a blog. We have our work. There's an about section. Support us. Contact us, and then we have a shop, and the shop is the Shop of Hours.
You can get some swag.
And you get some nice swag. We have some T-shirts. This is a very fetching little lapel pin.
There's the jellies.
There's the jelly T-shirt, okay, in red or purple. But we have stocking stuffers, and this is part of Jujubee's treasure box. What we have are some vintage toys. So here's a vintage toy train set. We have a vintage dollhouse vanity set. So you get a little toilet,
a toilet and a sink.
It's
hand carved and hand painted. It's really cute.
It's very cute. So if you're into dollhouses, there you go, or know somebody who does. We have these hand painted eggs, which are only let me see here. They are only about an inch,
they're
an inch
tiny.
and a quarter long. So that's kind of cool. So they're not very big.
Do we have these on the site? Oh yeah, we do.
We do, yeah.
Okay.
So here's a couple. We have some Turkish little like salt bowls, you know.
Right. We got those at a Turkish store
Yeah.
in Carmel, California.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still
Even there
there anymore, but
but we have some very cool little carved things. We have a bunch of tops.
yeah.
And if you're fans of Bookmark, you'll know that we used to open our show with top spinning tops.
And they really do spin. I'm spinning them right now, actually.
Yeah. And then a variety of little birds. So here's a kingfisher. These guys are really tiny. These are like little. I don't know if I have a ruler on this one or not. No.
But I have it right here.
Yeah. All right. So let me bring you up here and let me hide this on the stream.
There we go.
Yeah.
So here are the little guys. See the little parrots?
Yeah.
It's a little parrot.
Or a little bird. Yeah.
A little bird. It's green with an orange beak. I don't know if you can see it.
There you go. Yeah.
It's cute.
It's very cute.
Yeah. So there's that one.
Do you have any of the tops?
Here's the top. So the tops are really cool. They're really popular because look at the coloring. It's like rust and yellow and orange and gold and green.
And we've got all kinds of different shapes.
And all kinds of different shapes. Different shapes of tops. So they come in various shapes and colors, and they really do spin. And for what I've discovered is that these make great giveaways. So if you have a like a Thanksgiving table and you want to throw some of these really cool autumn colored tops on your Thanksgiving table, and you've got like a bunch of people coming over, give them a top, send them home with some tops. Or it's a really cool way to occupy the kids. The kids want to play with something.
Right.
The tops are really, really fun.
They're top.
Yeah.
They're the top.
They're really fun. And if you're a Rokfin member, or if you are a patron, you get a deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's show you. I have this bird.
Okay. Let me go back here a bit. Yeah.
So some of these birds are really hot. The kingfisher, for the one you saw with the he's really popular because he is good for Thanksgiving. People want something like that for Thanksgiving.
He looks a little like a rooster, but he's a kingfisher.
So this, and these are what the birds look like. So they're about this size, Here's the one with the red stripe on the back. These are hand painted from India. And what I like about these particular birds too is that they have little feet.
Yeah,
and
they just sort of
they just sit on your shelf or on your desk, whereas these little guys have the little platform.
Yeah.
But these
I like
birds,
this little gray one. Yeah.
This gray one right here is really cute.
Yeah, I like these little pigeons
with the red tail.
Yeah.
So this is all like hand painted, and go to our shop and get some birds now. Somebody recently was asking if I had any penguins, and at the time, sorry about that. At the time, I don't know if that picks up on the microphone, so maybe it did. At the time, I didn't have any hand-painted wooden penguins, but now I do. And so here he is for Christmas. Isn't he cute? He's like a little penguin shape. It's adorable. It's totally different. No, they're old, so they're not in. They're a little
chipped here and there.
And they're not even on the site yet. I haven't even had a chance to put them on the website yet.
So we're going to do that in the next day or two.
I have 10 of these.
Yeah.
So if you want one, just send me an email.
You can go info@book-of-hours.com.
I wonder if the light show it better. Like, I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, it might light it up too much.
Yeah, that might not work.
Yeah. So so very cool little penguins,
little birds, little tops, these things.
Yeah.
So this is really good for harvest and happy feet. Exactly, they do have happy feet.
Well, the penguin.
So yeah,
the movie.
Oh yeah, the movie. The penguin. I love that movie. Although it got kind of weirdly dark at the end, didn't it? It just kept going and going. Remember that? That's what I thought was so interesting about that movie, Happy Feet. But yeah, I wanted to mention our shop, and hopefully you guys will go there and see if you like something and buy it.
Yeah. So there are lots of cool little birds there.
Yeah.
I like this little robin.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
there's
last
only one more?
There's only
Wow.
one left.
And there's only one more dodo too, right? No, there's plenty
No,
of
there's
dodos.
more dodos.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I thought I'd get the last dodo. Oh, well.
Yeah. So check it out. If you guys, know anybody who likes birds, or if you're having a big Thanksgiving feast and you want to do some really cool giveaways.
Lots of tops.
On the table. We have about
yeah.
50 of these. And I can sell them to you in batches. You just toss them on your table, and I swear these were our wedding. Our wedding anniversary is November 3rd. So we got married in the fall. So I got these
at the reception.
And
we put them out on the tables.
We put them on our tables where people were eating, and they took them. And
they took them, Julie.
They just took them. No, they were giveaways.
Yes,
they were giveaways for coming to our wedding reception. So, I have 50 left. So if you're interested in that, that's a good addition to your Thanksgiving table.
Yeah. Or if you just buy
your harvest table.
Yeah. Or if you just buy one or two and just like having tops around.
Yeah, we're a big fan of spinning.
We like tops. Yeah.
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring that back from
maybe we can use these.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Do another one. Yeah.
We'll use the wooden ones.
And maybe we'll make some more swag with some hand-drawn posters of tops spinning or something like that. If that's something you guys are interested in, I might make some bookmark posters or something.
Right.
All right. Cool.
So I guess I just want to remind you that, we are, we're still actually tomorrow. I'm going to be working on something called Spectacle, and it's going to be a video sketchbook. So maybe like a 20-minute, 30-minute video. And it's just going to be talking about, how spectacle can really shape our behavior, and how it's not, we really just need to be critical about everything that we watch, even us,
we're always critical about us.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of spectacle out there, and it's not just coming from your typical corporate media sources. Spectacle is coming out of the podcast industrial complex as well. And I want to caution people not to let themselves get so wrapped up in the spectacle that they forget to live a life. They forget to live for themselves and for their families. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm saying, I know.
Does
exactly.
that make sense?
Well, like we said, trauma bonding and trauma bonding gets, you get attached to the trauma and to the pain and the anxiety that this world is handing to you, not only handing to you, but spoon feeding you. So it's something we have to all be aware of, that, these things are designed to make you feel uneasy, to make you feel anxious, and to spin out. So like we talked about with some of the content we were talking about earlier, like that article designed to upset you and keep you off balance. That's what they want. They want you to be off balance, and it's and it's an unhealthy way of living, and they know that. Yeah. Because it's really not good for you physically to be in a constant state of stress.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think, this is kind of a mellow one, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of anxious
something you said to me last night. You were scrolling through Facebook, and you said, there's a lot of despair out there.
Oh, right. Yeah, there is a lot of despair. And, sometimes I despair as well, especially last night when I saw those signs on the door. I wanted to go watch some jazz and have a glass of wine and live my life like I've always lived it. And I realized that, that's over.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I've been saying, you guys, it's over. It's over. I've been saying it for a year and a half, but it really
slapped you in the face.
Yeah. It really like hit home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to go, to get mad and say we're boycotting that venue, but it's another thing to realize that all the venues are acting like fucking fascists, except, then there's that little venue near your house that's doing just really localized things. And you may have like poo-pooed that jazz band that they had playing live, last month, but now it's that only connection to live. It's looking pretty good to that, that connection to live music. So, support the people who are doing the right thing out there, and
Yeah, please support the people who are doing the right thing.
And the people who are respecting you. The people who are not respecting you, you just turn your back to them.
There is another aspect to this, and then we can wrap up. Where we went Thursday night.
Right.
So where we went Thursday, it was super nice, like a really, really nice
for Julie's birthday
high-end restaurant. You know, we don't go out much, hardly at all. So, you know, I felt like we deserved it. I wanted to get a little dressed up and go have a birthday dinner. And, you know, they don't require you to wear a mask or show anything. And so I thought that was interesting too. Like, they're high end enough, you know, they're in a hotel, and the hotel is considered one of the top hotels like in the world. So the restaurant, of course, is going to be a very good restaurant, right? So when you're up at that level, everything's
except the workers, they're still masked.
Except the workers had to wear a mask. So when you're up at that level, though, they don't need like impact money. You know, they have enough. Their clientele is paying probably a lot of money per night to stay at a hotel like that. And
they're you know, catering to business travelers as well, and so there's
international,
there's just no need to treat their guests that way, and they're not going to require it. And so again, coming back to the idea of class war, where you know, you see this bifurcation of society, where this group of people are allowed to do this, and the rest of you have to, you know, you're not allowed to go to culture, but you know, you no matter what. But you know, in this case, you know, the not everybody is going to go to this restaurant or this hotel,
right?
But the workers have to still mask up, and so there's it's just a weird. It's just
that's why I have a hard time when people say that it's not class war, and I'm witnessing it in front of my own eyes, and I'm experiencing it personally.
And
I'm like, well, yeah, it's class war.
Yeah, and to reiterate, it's not always about, you know, economic class. It's also, you know, cultural class, or a classification that's being developed or being, you know, fabricated right before our eyes, right? The people who took the intervention and the people who did not.
So just also to give you some, you know, just to give you some a framework, you know, just to kind of qualify what I'm saying. So we have to take a bus everywhere we go. We don't have a car. So this restaurant that we went to, this really nice one that wasn't asking for, you know, masking or anything like that, it's about 15 to 20 minutes from our front door, by car, by bus, or by taxi. Well, the bus never showed up. We had 7:30 reservations. The bus actually didn't show up till after 8. So we didn't get to the restaurant until 8:30, and they were going to stop serving at 8:45. So we barely made it in, but it was really stressful, you know, to get out to the bus stop on time, only to have the bus never show. So I thought, okay, no problem. I'll just call for a taxi. Well, everything's automated here. You don't just dial a phone number and, you know, somebody picks up and is like, yeah, American Taxi, how can I help you? It's all automated on an app. Well, the app just kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and kept.
Yeah, and there aren't that many drivers, even when you're downtown.
When you're downtown, there were no taxis.
There used to be taxis lined up in front of the hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
And even the hotel workers were like, yeah, there's something going on. We can't get a taxi for our guests. So we were pretty much at the mercy of the only form of transportation that we could get to go to my birthday dinner, which was the bus. And the bus never showed up at the right time.
Right. So what we're getting at here is not complaining about Julie's birthday evening, but more about like, this is the new normal. This is the new normal, which is what we started out with. And these are the issues that you're going to start facing. This lack of infrastructure, a taking away of services, a taking away of things that make your life whole and
just easy
and part of being
basic
life,
stuff,
you know. And they're shifting that focus, you know, to these, you know, 15-minute cities or 15-minute neighborhoods. They're taking away the things for the outlying communities, and they're shifting focus into these 15-minute neighborhoods. And that's the shift that we're going to see that are going to bring about these I don't know why I can't think of the name.
Sustainable development goals.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep having trouble with that.
It's okay.
And
it's been a long week.
And those are the things that are going to initiate even more surveillance and even more control over your life. And it's just what we're seeing is the beginnings of those things, and they're going to be brought in slowly, and it's going to be. And Rosa Koire was talking about that. Where it's like, they're not going to go and like tear up your road if you live out in a rural area so that you can't get the postal mail or the deliveries made to you. They're just going to, it's just benign neglect. They're just going to let things go to the point to where it will be impossible for you to get out to where you live from somewhere else, and for you to get somewhere else from where you live. And they're not going to take your cars away from you, but there will be probably ways of getting around that where, self-employed mechanics go away and gas stations go away and the price of fuel goes up and all these other things that are like surrounding the whole notion of private transportation. And so car ownership isn't going to be taken away from you. It will be just kind of nudged away from you more than anything, I think.
Jared says that he is experiencing the same challenges regarding transportation. By the way, Jared, I don't know if you're just joining, but check this out. Oh, look at that.
It's very cute.
I don't know if you could tell because of the light. It's really bright, but there's a little penguin face.
Was he looking for penguins?
Yeah, he asked if we had any penguins.
So now we have some penguins.
And I told you that I was waiting.
So
yes.
Email Julie and she'll tell you the price.
Oh my God. I know, right? Who doesn't love penguins at Christmas time?
I know, especially Christmas time. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And they have, they stand, on their own. See?
Yeah.
And you just put them on your desk.
So they're about, I don't know, what was that, about 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches? Yeah.
A little scarf painted. They're wooden.
Yeah. They're vintage, so they're a little dinged up here and there, but
they are. So
yeah,
a little banged up.
But anyway, so thank you for what?
Another, I was like, I might keep them for myself. They're so cute. But yeah.
So that's what we're seeing, and that's what we're going to be encountering more and more in the future.
Difficulty getting around. That's why we're like, I guess we have to get a car.
We might
somehow.
have to. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do it, but
so if you're interested in helping us get a car, we have a PayPal account.
That's right, we do. Also, for those of you watching us on Rokfin, you can leave a tip in the tip jar. For those of you who are interested in supporting us more, you can join Rokfin. So rokfin.com/book of hours. That's ROKFIN.com/book of hours. And you can join and see our premium content as well as all the premium content for all the content creators on Rokfin. We have a PayPal account. You can also join Patreon and become a patron for as little as $2 a month. But if you feel like giving more, please do. We do appreciate that. There is premium content available for our patrons. You are getting discounts on the store for the birds and things like that. But if you feel like ordering a t-shirt, you can do that there as well. Patrons do get swag. So certain levels will get you a t-shirt or one of those cool lapel pins. So if you feel like doing that, that's cool. We'd be happy. So
please tune in this Thursday for Andrew Kaufman. It'll be at 10 in the morning on
Eastern Daylight Time.
We'll
put out a promo on all the channels.
Probably Monday. I think we should do it Monday.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big name, so I want to give people enough time to come on over and check us out.
So that'll have all the channels that we'll be doing that show on, as well as the times. I don't know if we'll be on YouTube with Kaufman. Can we?
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, we just did Christiane Northrup last week, and she's really controversial,
but yet she's on YouTube herself. So.
And yet she's on YouTube herself, and our video hasn't been taken down. So, that's good for that. And I think it's because the discussions that we had were not I think it was more just about solutions,
Yeah.
maybe.
Plus, I think YouTube's backing off a little bit, but
I think so. It
yeah.
feels a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other things now that are happening that are pretty bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, please check us out on Thursday, this coming Thursday, October 14th, I
Yes.
believe.
Yes, that's right.
And at 10 a.m. to join us for that conversation. And if you have any questions for him, leave comments. I check all the comments on everything we do. You can send us an email, through Messenger if you're watching us on Facebook, and we'll field those comments and those questions to him.
Yeah. All right, folks. I guess that's it for now.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll see you for another bookmark in 2 weeks. But in the
weeks.
meantime, we'll see you on Thursday with Dr. Andrew Kaufman.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
thanks.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining.
Bye. Book of Hours are artists here to empower and embolden your response to the constant negative sound bites that attack your news and social media feeds. In order to continue making the video essays and art you've come to enjoy, we need your support. Make a one-time donation or become a patron. Thank you.